Maybe it's been a long day. Your body can rest now. Let each breath slow. Let your thoughts drift with the dark. The night has softened. Above you, light from ancient stars is still traveling, quiet, patient, carrying stories that began millions of years ago. You are watching the past arrive, one shimmer at a time. Even in silence, everything is still moving, gently, as if time itself were breathing in sleep. If light is the limit of the universe, what lies beyond that limit? Perhaps where speed ends, time begins to fold, bending softly around the memories it holds. Tonight, you will drift between seconds and listen to what time sounds like when it turns into light. Every silence carries the echo of a journey still unfolding, far beyond the edge of night. The universe stretches like an endless fabric, not woven from thread, but from distance and moment. Einstein imagined it first. Time and space are not two separate strands, but one continuous weave called spacetime. Minkowski gave that idea shape, showing that time is a fourth dimension, folded together with the three of space, forming a single surface where every motion leaves a trace. When you breathe, that breath too becomes a faint line across this invisible fabric, slow, weightless, and perfectly still, like ripples on a lake under the stars. Physicists say that within this four-dimensional structure, anything with mass bends the weave around it, much like a stone resting on stretched cloth, curving the paths of everything nearby. Imagine this cosmic cloth as a silent lake in perfect stillness. A distant star flickers. A single grain of dust drifts. A leaf falls through the memory of air, and every one of them sends ripples across the surface, meeting, merging, and fading into the quiet. Nothing stands outside it. For everything, stars, light, thought, heartbeat, belongs to the same water. There is safety in that realization. If all things share the same surface, then no step is ever lost, and no story disappears beneath the horizon. Whenever something moves, it doesn't simply pass through space, it slides along time as well. Each second that passes is another thread pulled gently into the great tapestry, binding present to past and to all that is still waiting to be. Picture a path, not of stone, but of breath, connecting this quiet room to the distant rim of galaxies. A reminder that stillness itself has depth, not emptiness. Because space-time bends under the weight of matter, even light curves softly as it moves, like a whisper shifting tone beneath a domed ceiling. Space-time is not a river rushing forward, but a vast, calm lake that accepts every ripple without resistance. Every event that has ever happened still lingers somewhere in its folds, not gone, only out of sight, like circles on water that have spread too wide to see but still leave the shore damp. So the story tonight does not chase after events, but listens for the resonance they left behind, finding that motion and quiet are not opposites, but parts of the same design. When the breath slows, the surface seems smoother, calmer, and every thought turns into a beam of gentle light, appearing, softening, and vanishing without a sound. Within this weave, every path has meaning because the fabric itself holds it. Scientists write it in equations, but the lake offers a simpler truth. You do not need to understand the symbols to feel the kindness of the pattern. Knowledge here does not wake you. It lets you drift, the more you listen, the more it feels like every concept in physics was only another way of saying you belong to something vast and tender. So you can let go. Let the story keep weaving, even as your mind drifts away. Somewhere in the quiet, the fabric still breathes, and each breath is a greeting to every orbit, every wave, every life it holds. If you listen closely enough, you can sense that even silence has its own outline, not empty, but full of the faint hum of everything that ever was. And as you begin to hear it, your eyes may grow heavy, because the next story will continue the weave even as you sleep. In the fabric of space-time, even silence has shape. Across the quiet fabric of space-time, every motion, from the drifting of dust to the orbit of a planet, leaves a mark. Physicists call this mark a world line, a single, delicate thread that traces the entire journey of an object through the four-dimensional weave. Each heartbeat, each breath, each position in space becomes a point upon that thread. When connected, they form not a path we walk, but a continuous record of existence, the full story of a life, from its quiet beginning to its fading edge. Nothing ever truly vanishes from this tapestry. It simply continues forward, stretching into the folds where tomorrow is still being written. To imagine this is to see the universe as a loom of infinite strands. Every star, every atom, every thought pulls its own line across the surface, intersecting with countless others in the same vast pattern. When the sun rises, its light follows its own thread, bending through the curvature of space-time, brushing past ours for only a moment before continuing on. From a higher view, the kind only equations and imagination can reach, each world line is not a moving thing at all, but something already complete, suspended in a whole shape of time. The object does not move. It exists all at once, its past and future resting together like ink already dry on paper. There is another way physicists describe this structure: time slices. If a world line is a thread, then a time slice is the knife edge that cuts across the fabric to reveal what exists in a single instant. Picture reality as a film reel stretched through a projector. Each frame, still precise, unchanging, holds one frozen moment. When played in sequence, those frames become what we call motion, what we feel as now. Yet the truth is gentler. All the frames remain there, lined up in quiet patience, none erased, none ahead or behind. Only our awareness passing through them, page by page. Perhaps we have never truly left the past. We are merely standing on a different slice of the same great block of time, somewhere within its folds. The child you once were still looks at the same sky, the same starlight that is still on its way here. The future you imagine already waits in its own frame, just beyond the one your mind is touching. Time does not flow. We do. Our perception moves like a light beam gliding through the film, illuminating each moment before letting it fade back into stillness. The movie was always complete. The beauty lies in watching it unfold slowly enough to understand it. So tonight, as you breathe, imagine your own world line, thin, steady, shimmering through space-time. Every second you have lived is still there, a page unturned but never lost, connected by invisible threads to everything that ever was. The present is only the fingertips sliding across the book, tracing each word in soft reverence before moving on. somewhere. All your moments are still happening together, quietly, endlessly. Every second is a page still present in a book of space and time. From outside the fabric of space-time, nothing truly moves. Every planet, every atom, every person rests quietly along its own curved path, complete, unbroken, already drawn through the four-dimensional weave. To an observer beyond time, motion is only geometry, a thread bent through the tapestry. It is only from within that we call it travel. Only from our small perspective that we feel things passing by. From outside, all journeys are still. This stillness is not the absence of movement, but its other face. Even as your body lies still, even as the room is quiet, you are moving through time itself, gliding forward at the universe's one unchanging pace, the speed of light. It is the same constant that governs every photon, every pulse of energy, every flicker that crosses the dark. When you rest, your whole motion is turned inward, flowing entirely along the time axis. When you begin to move through space, walking, running, flying, part of that motion is shared with distance, and a little less remains for time. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. Einstein's equations describe this gentle balance with perfect symmetry. Across all four dimensions, the total velocity is always equal to the speed of light. Nothing escapes it. Nothing exceeds it. A person sitting beneath a tree and a beam of light passing above are both racing through space-time together, each taking a different share between space and time. For one, the journey stretches across distance. For the other, it folds through seconds. And so, to move faster through the world is to linger longer within the same moment. Time stretches, dilates, breathes more slowly for the traveler. It is a quiet miracle, easy to miss in the noise of daily life. The world seems filled with motion, clouds, tides, the turning of the earth. Yet within that motion lies a deep, persistent calm. Every creature, every thought, every pulse moves through space-time at the same eternal speed, as if existence itself were keeping rhythm with the light. Perhaps what we call stillness is simply the awareness of this balance, the brief recognition that motion has no direction, only harmony. And maybe, in every moment we think we are still, a part of us is already soaring through the cosmos, not across the stars, but through the hidden dimension of time. The quiet you feel is not a pause, but a glide, a smooth continuation through something vast and invisible. Whether you run or rest, laugh or sleep, you are traveling with the same cosmic grace, carried along by the same timeless current that moves everything else. In motion or stillness, every being travels at the same eternal pace. Nothing in the universe moves faster than light. But that is not because it wins a race. It is because light never had to run at all. A photon carries no mass, no weight to slow it down, and so it glides through space-time without friction, untouched by the ticking of any clock. For light, there is no before and no after, no journey stretched between 2 points. The instant it leaves a star, it has already arrived wherever it will be seen. The beginning and the end exist together, folded into the same breathless now. From our slower corner of the cosmos, we see things differently, A ray that left its star when dinosaurs walked the earth is only now reaching your eyes, carrying a memory older than language. We measure the distance in years of light because that is the only way to count the patience of something that never stops. The space between a star and your sight may be millions of years wide, yet the light itself feels none of it. For the photon, the road does not exist, only the destination shining quietly ahead. This is the strange grace of light. The fastest thing in the universe is also the most serene. It does not rush, it simply is. While we measure, calculate, and compare, light just travels, constant and unchanging. Like a thought that never questions where it came from. Its rhythm never falters. Its speed never breaks. Every beam, every glimmer, every whisper of starlight that slips through a window tonight is a message written in the oldest language of motion, one that says everything moves, yet nothing hurries. In a sense, light is an old storyteller, moving across eternity to remind us that even what seems still is already traveling. When you look up at the night sky, you are reading messages sent from the past, postcards from the birth of galaxies, folded into photons that have been crossing silence longer than any memory can hold. The glow you see is history still arriving, the universe writing to itself through time. Perhaps that is why starlight feels comforting. It carries proof that distance can be gentle, that speed can be calm, that nothing truly separates the moments we live from the light that once was. Every beam that touches your skin tonight began somewhere unimaginably far away. It reaches you with the ease of a sigh. For light, there is no rush, no hesitation, no waiting, and still, it never stops. Light never hurries, yet it never stops. In the quiet geometry of spacetime, every moment is a point, an event surrounded by a soft boundary called a light cone. Imagine it not as a wall, but as a halo expanding outward, woven from light itself. Everything inside that cone can touch or be touched by you. It is the realm of what is possible, where cause and effect exchange gentle whispers across time. Everything beyond it, the vast outside, will never reach you, no matter how long the universe endures. Those regions remain forever silent, separated not by distance, but by the immutable rhythm of light. Minkowski's model shows this symmetry like a dance frozen in shape. At the tip of the cone is now the single bright intersection where your present stands. Above it stretches the future light cone, all events that could still unfold from your existence. Below it lies the past, all things that could have ever influenced this moment. Between those two cones runs a thread, your world line, winding quietly through the structure, balancing possibility and memory. Within these boundaries, reality breathes. Light determines what can speak to what, how far cause may reach before the universe's speed limit hums its soft reminder. Nothing moves faster than light, and nothing sends a message before its time. This limit is not punishment. It is protection. If light could be outrun, then consequence could arrive before intention, and the cosmos would unravel its own story backward. The cone ensures that time keeps its gentle order, a pulse that moves one beat at a time. The symmetry of this shape keeps the universe coherent, allowing stars to shine, signals to travel, and thought itself to make sense. Within the cone, everything hums in harmony, each event answering the one before it like notes in a cosmic melody. To imagine standing inside your own light cone is to recognize the quiet map of what your presence can touch. Every word you speak, every movement, every particle that leaves your skin becomes a wave expanding through the cone, reaching some places, but not all. Beyond its rim are the countless possibilities you will never know. Worlds that remain parallel, existing but untouchable. Yet even they play their part, defining the edges that give shape to your influence. Without the boundary, there would be no pattern, no rhythm, only noise without sequence. Perhaps causality is not a law but a kind of music, a measure that keeps existence in time. Light is its metronome, constant and patient, ensuring that beginnings lead naturally into endings. The universe listens to the rhythm and moves accordingly. Every pulse of light, a quiet reminder of order. So the next time you see the shimmer of a star, remember, it too lives within its own cone of possibility, sending its voice forward through space-time, not rushing, not forcing, only keeping the beat of creation steady. Causality is the rhythm that keeps the cosmos in tune. At the heart of the universe lies a quiet rule. Nothing with mass can move as swiftly as light. It is not a command shouted into the void, but a whisper written into the fabric of reality itself. Every atom, every grain of dust, every drifting world obeys it without effort, as if the universe were gently holding them back from a place they were never meant to reach. The closer something comes to light speed, the more resistance it feels. Time stretches, lengths contract, and the air between seconds begins to thin. The faster you go, the softer time becomes, until it feels as though the universe itself is asking you to slow down. According to Einstein's insight, energy and mass are intertwined. One can transform into the other, endlessly connected by the quiet symmetry of the equation mc2. As an object moves faster, its energy swells, pulling against space-time like a tide rising toward a fragile shore. To reach the speed of light would require infinite energy, an impossible demand, not because nature is cruel, but because it is kind. The limit exists as a boundary of protection, a soft wall that keeps the weave from tearing. Beyond it, cause and effect would unravel, moments would overlap and lose their order, and time itself could dissolve into noise. The boundary, then, is not a prison, but a form of balance, a place where motion meets harmony. Like the horizon, it defines what can be seen without forbidding what lies beyond. Every creature, every planet, every particle dances beneath that ceiling of light, never touching it, yet shaped by it in every motion. The laws of physics hum quietly, keeping everything in tune. The light's limit is the rhythm that steadies existence, the pulse that prevents the fabric from fraying. Perhaps every limit in nature carries the same softness if seen from far enough away. The way the shore holds the sea, the way gravity holds the stars, the way silence holds sound. Boundaries are not endings. They are contours, outlines that let the infinite take form. Even light, the freest thing there is, honors its own edge, moving forever at the same pace, never slower, never faster. And we, bound by slower rhythms, still travel beside it, always within reach of its warmth. If the universe had no restraint, there would be no stillness, no continuity, no place for time to rest. The limit is what allows everything to last. It is the soft voice that tells creation when to pause, when to breathe, and when to begin again. The universe holds together by saying softly, "Enough." When the dream of surpassing light began to fade, imagination turned inward. If no vessel could outrun the universe's greatest speed, then perhaps the universe itself could be persuaded to bend. Physicists began to picture not a ship racing through the stars, but one resting in stillness, while the space around it changed shape. Ahead, space-time compresses. Behind, it expands. The ship does not move at all, and yet, to those outside, it glides forward as if carried by an invisible tide. It is not a rebellion against nature, but a reinterpretation of its language. The idea came to be called a warp drive. In Alcubierre's vision, space-time is no longer a static canvas, but a living sea. A wave forms around the ship, folding the cosmic fabric into a gentle curve, like the swell beneath a drifting boat. The craft itself stays at rest within a pocket of calm, a still eye inside a moving storm. No law of relativity is broken, for the vessel does not move through space faster than light. Instead, it lets space itself do the traveling. The front contracts, the back relaxes, and the wave carries the traveler wherever it goes. From within, it would feel like standing still, while the stars ripple closer, as if the universe were exhaling in rhythm with the journey. But this vision comes at a cost as subtle as it is impossible. To bend space-time in this way would require what physicists call negative energy, something not yet found, a kind of gravitational mirage that could pull instead of push. Without it, the sea remains flat and the ship cannot rise. Still, the idea endures because it feels almost right, like the memory of a dream that refuses to fade. To imagine a warp drive is to imagine kindness in physics, a loophole that does not destroy, only reshapes, a permission slip from the cosmos that says, "You cannot break the rule, but you may dance around its edge." Perhaps that is what every dream has been, since the first human looked at the horizon and wondered what lay beyond it. We are not trying to break reality, we are trying to bend it, just enough to let wonder pass through, to fold the sky and bring the unreachable a little nearer. The warp drive is not an engine of defiance, but of harmony, a hope that the same fabric that limits us might also be the one that carries us further. And maybe the universe, in its infinite patience, allows these dreams to exist for a reason. It listens as we imagine, and in doing so, it expands just a little more, not through speed or power, but through curiosity, that quiet ripple in the sea of space-time that keeps everything alive. To bend is not to break, it is another way of moving. In the quiet map of space-time, every possible motion fits neatly within a cone of light, the region where cause and effect still know their order. But imagine, for a moment, a step beyond that boundary, a particle, somehow freed from the constraint of light, moves faster than any signal the universe allows. Its path no longer fits inside a cone. It slips into a place where before and after begin to blur. To Minkowski's geometry, this is not motion toward the future, but motion sideways through time, into a direction where time loses its meaning. If a signal could travel in such a way, it might arrive before it was sent, its message appearing in the receiver's hand while the sender's thought was still forming. From outside, it would look like a trick of mirrors, a reflection folding back upon itself. The symmetry of space-time, once so steady, would begin to shimmer like heat above the desert, bending not only distance but sequence itself. Every effect would risk becoming its own cause, and every cause a faint echo arriving too late to be heard. The boundary of light, so gentle yet firm, keeps these contradictions from spilling into the fabric of reality. For physicists, such a notion is both thrilling and uneasy, a mathematical dream that hints at freedom, yet also at the loss of coherence. If something could truly move faster than light, then time would cease to be a flowing current and become a pool of overlapping reflections. Directions would blur, and the certainty of now would dissolve into an endless hall of mirrors, where each event sees itself twice. It is not that we would go faster. We would no longer know where we were going at all. Perhaps that is why the universe, in its patient wisdom, set the limit so gently but so clearly, not to forbid discovery, but to preserve meaning. Time may not be a barrier to break, but a structure to lean against. The framework that allows stories to be told in sequence and memories to hold their shape. Without that framework, even wonder would lose its place. For wonder depends on anticipation, and anticipation requires a future beyond light. There is no faster, no slower, no direction at all, only reflection. Everything that once pointed forward turns inward, folding upon itself like a beam meeting a mirror. The universe becomes a single shimmer of awareness, too bright, too symmetrical to hold a sense of before. It is a strange and beautiful thought, and one that invites humility. Because in the end, the boundary of light is not an obstacle. It is a guide, a luminous horizon that says, here is where meaning begins, and where it must stay. Beyond light, direction dissolves into reflection. At the farthest boundary of the light cone, the world begins to blur. Here, time thins into uncertainty, and the clear rhythm of cause and effect starts to waver, like an echo reaching the edge of hearing. No one knows what truly happens where causes and consequences meet in perfect balance, where the arrow of time hovers, neither pointing forward nor back. The equations grow quiet, their certainty dissolving into fog. It is a place where even the universe seems to hesitate, holding its breath at the edge of its own logic. Physicists call this the boundary of causality, the thin horizon between what can be known and what must remain unsaid. Within the light cone, every action has a consequence, every spark a shadow that follows. But beyond it, that order falters. If a signal could escape the cone, it might reach its destination before it was ever sent. In that fragile possibility lies the seed of paradox, information without an origin, actions without a cause, loops of meaning folding endlessly upon themselves. At that edge, time loses its structure and becomes something else, a mist of potential, a question that cannot settle into an answer. From a distance, the idea seems abstract, but it carries a strange tenderness. The silence beyond causality is not emptiness. It is protection, It is the universe drawing a soft curtain over the machinery that keeps it whole. If time could truly reverse, if cause could chase its own tail, the story of existence would unravel like a thread without a knot to hold it. The laws of nature guard against that unraveling, not with violence, but with grace. They whisper, "This far, no further." The boundary hums like a thin string between chaos and coherence, allowing reality to shimmer, but not to break. Perhaps that is why the unknown at this horizon feels almost sacred. It is not the threat of confusion that lingers there, but the promise of balance. The universe, in its quiet self-awareness, seems to know that too much certainty would make it rigid, and too much freedom would make it fall apart. So it keeps a silence deep enough to hold both, a stillness that allows mystery to coexist with law. We live our lives far from that edge, yet every moment depends on it, as waves depend on the still depths that keep the sea from scattering. Standing at the edge of causality, one can almost sense the cosmos pausing between breaths, not in fear, but in equilibrium. Every paradox begins to sound like a question gently asked, and every question becomes a way of keeping the universe awake. Beyond this horizon, answers dissolve into reflections, and reflections turn back into silence. The edge of cause is where the universe holds its breath. Imagine two friends. One remains on Earth, watching the sky from the quiet curve of a blue horizon. The other leaves aboard a vessel gliding through the dark, moving at nearly 87% of the speed of light. To the one who stays, the clock aboard that distant ship begins to slow. The seconds stretch, the minutes linger. A message that should have taken hours to return seems delayed, suspended between stars. Yet aboard the ship, time feels unchanged. The traveler breathes, thinks, and moves as always, and when they look back, it is Earth that seems to be slowing, its oceans turning more gently, its clouds drifting more lazily across the sky. Both are right. Each sees the same universe through a different rhythm of time, their measurements shaped by motion and light. In Einstein's symmetry, neither observer is privileged. Both are complete within their own frame. What changes is not truth, but perspective. The universe allows each to hold their own version of now, as if existence itself were generous enough to give everyone their own tempo. To one, a heartbeat passes swiftly. To the other, it expands like a note sustained in song. Yet both beats still keep time with the same cosmic pulse. This gentle distortion is called time dilation, the stretching of time that occurs when motion approaches light. The faster an object moves, the more slowly time flows in its own frame, until at the speed of light, the flow would stop entirely. At 87%, the difference is exactly 1/2. For every 10 seconds that pass on Earth, only 5 pass on the ship. The formula behind it, known as the Lorentz factor, is precise and elegant, but beneath its numbers lies something deeply human. It tells us that even in a perfect equation, there is room for perspective, for multiplicity, for coexistence. Think of it as two hearts beating in different tempos, yet sustaining the same life. Their rhythms never match, but their harmony holds the world together. When the traveler returns, they may have aged less than their friend, carrying with them a different measure of years, a reminder that time is not a river flowing evenly, but a fabric that stretches and breathes with motion. The reunion becomes something sacred, where two timelines briefly touch, and all differences fade into the quiet fact that both exist at once. Perhaps that is the truest kindness of the cosmos. It never demands agreement. It allows each perspective to stand, both right, both valid, both part of the same whole. The universe does not choose between observers. It simply includes them, letting each clock, each thought, each life move to its own rhythm. And when those rhythms meet, across distance, across time, the moment of connection feels infinite, as if both worlds had paused to listen. Every heartbeat marks its own kind of eternity. Imagine those same two friends again, one still on Earth, the other drifting through the dark aboard a ship moving close to light speed. Between them hums a strange new device, a creation of impossible ingenuity, a transmitter said to send messages faster than light. One evening, the friend on Earth presses the button, sending a brief pulse across the void. Instantly, the traveler sees the signal flicker across his screen. He smiles, replies, and sends his message back through the same impossible channel. But when the times are compared, something unsettling appears. The reply, his answer, arrived before the question was ever sent. To both friends, the math feels like a dream folded the wrong way. On Earth, it seems as though the signal raced outward and back in an instant. On the ship, it appears reversed. The reply left before the question existed. Somewhere between them, time itself seems to have curved, bending the arrow that usually points forward. In the diagrams of Minkowski space, the line connecting those two events would tilt beyond the cone of light, slipping outside the gentle boundary that keeps cause ahead of effect. The symmetry breaks, and the familiar rhythm of before and after begins to overlap, like two notes held too long in the same chord. This is what physicists call a causality paradox. It is not a violent thing. It arrives quietly, through the simple act of communication. If information can move faster than light, then time can fold into itself, letting effects precede causes. The universe becomes its own reflection, a mirror where the future touches the past and the present disappears into their meeting point. The equations that once held the world together now loop in soft circles, no longer describing sequence but coexistence. Each moment shines twice, once as the question, once as the answer. And yet, perhaps this is why the cosmos set its limits so gently. The speed of light is not a cage, but a kindness. It prevents time from losing its coherence, from twisting so tightly it tears. If messages could truly arrive before they were sent, meaning itself would dissolve, a painting completing itself and then fading before the artist's first brushstroke. The boundaries of causality are not walls meant to contain us, but threads that keep the fabric whole, so that stories can unfold one frame after another without collapsing into silence. For a moment, though, it is tempting to imagine that reflection, to think of a world where communication skips across time like light across mirrors, where the future hums softly into the present, whispering what is to come. Perhaps it already does, in ways too subtle for clocks to measure, in intuition, in déjà vu, in the gentle feeling of knowing before understanding. The universe may not allow paradox, but it certainly allows wonder. For every question we ask, there is always an answer already waiting, patient, timeless, reflected somewhere in the distance. When the answer comes before the question, time becomes a mirror. When causality fractures, it is not just physics that trembles. The very grammar of existence begins to blur. Without sequence, there is no reason, no rhythm, no sense of before or after. The world folds inward, not in violence, but in stillness. Everything that once moved begins to hover in one impossible instant, where cause and effect touch so completely they lose their distinction. It is as if time, exhausted from endless motion, finally sits down to rest. Physicists have tried to capture this idea in what they call closed time-like curves, loops in space-time where an event can lead back to itself. In such a loop, a traveler could return to the moment they departed. A particle could collide with its younger self, and every path would circle endlessly without a beginning. The mathematics holds, strangely enough, the logic does not. It describes a universe that functions, yet defies narrative, a story with no first sentence. Only a sentence that keeps rewriting itself. To imagine it is to picture the universe breathing in, then forgetting to breathe out. From a distance, the paradox feels impossible, but up close, it begins to resemble something familiar. Our own lives are full of such loops, memories replayed, emotions recurring, choices echoing across years. Every breath we take contains its opposite, inhalation and release, joined in a single rhythm. We name them as two, but they are one continuous act, a motion that never stops yet always returns. Perhaps the universe is the same, its expansion and collapse, its birth and decay, part of one unbroken gesture too vast to see all at once. If cause and effect were to hold hands, what would truly break? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps the division was only ever a trick of perception, the mind carving borders into something that was whole. Time may not flow forward like a river, but turn in gentle spirals, folding over itself without ever truly ending. In those spirals, creation and consequence merge, every star born already carrying its own twilight, every ending quietly pregnant with the beginning. The universe does not need to choose direction, it only needs to continue breathing. And maybe, somewhere beyond our comprehension, time does rest for a moment, not ceasing, but dreaming. In that dream, every paradox becomes a lullaby, every contradiction a soft reminder that perfection is circular. To reach the point where motion stops is not to meet an edge, but to touch stillness so complete that it feels infinite. There, the pulse of existence slows until everything, light, thought, memory, folds into quiet unity. When cause and effect hold hands, time falls asleep. In the still geometry of space-time, there is a theory both unsettling and serene. The block universe. It imagines that time does not flow, but simply is. Every moment, from the birth of stars to the quiet pulse of now, exists together in one vast, unchanging structure. The past has not vanished. The future is not waiting. They are all here, folded into the same infinite tapestry. To move through time, then is not to travel forward, but to drift across the contours of a landscape already complete. In this vision, reality is a solid four-dimensional whole, every event a coordinate, every life a luminous thread embedded within the block. Our perception of change, of motion and growth comes from consciousness sliding along its thread, frame by frame, as if reading a cosmic film one image at a time. We call it the present, but it is only the point where awareness meets the page. Like a ship gliding along a painted river, we mistake our own movement for the currents. The water does not flow. The scenery is already drawn. We are simply witnessing it in sequence, one shimmer at a time. Physicists derive this model from the same spacetime geometry Minkowski revealed, where every point, every instant is equally real. Einstein himself once wrote that for those who understand relativity, the distinction between past, present, and future is a stubborn illusion. Within the block, nothing is born or destroyed, everything is. The universe does not happen, it simply exists. It is strange comfort, this stillness. It suggests that every joy, every loss, every quiet second has a permanent home somewhere within the great structure of being. If all moments exist at once, what does that mean for choice? Perhaps free will is not broken, only redefined. Freedom, in this view, is not the power to change what is written, but the grace to live each scene fully, to feel the rhythm of the story from within the script. Destiny, then, is not a cage, but the reassurance that no moment is wasted, no gesture forgotten. The universe holds everything, equally and eternally, as if to say nothing ever truly disappears. To imagine the block universe is to see time not as a river, but as a map, one that includes every step we have taken and every path we have yet to tread. Consciousness is the traveler, the act of moving is the reading, and the journey is the illusion that keeps the story alive. Somewhere, every version of you still stands, still breathes, still waits, suspended in the same luminous structure that binds all things. The river doesn't flow. It is the map we move across. The human brain is a quiet magician, weaving the illusion of time into something that feels like motion. It gathers fragments of memory, strings them together, and calls the sequence the present. One moment follows another, not because the universe demands it, but because the mind cannot stand still. It needs a direction to face, a story to tell, a rhythm to hold. In this endless stitching, consciousness becomes both observer and author, creating the feeling of flow. Though the pages of reality have long been written, in truth, physics suggests that no single now exists. Each instant is as real as the next, as eternal as the last. The sense of a special, moving present, the moment we are in, arises from how the brain processes information. It remembers what came before, predicts what might come next, and merges the two into a smooth, continuous film. The gaps between frames vanish, and what remains is movement. It is a beautiful trick, one that turns static geometry into lived experience. Without it, life would be a freeze frame, a still sculpture of space-time. With it, we feel warmth, change, anticipation, all the textures that make existence meaningful. Neuroscientists describe this illusion as a form of temporal binding, the mind's tendency to gather scattered signals and interpret them as flow. Every sound, Every flicker of light, every heartbeat is stitched into a tapestry of continuity. But perhaps illusion is too small a word for it. Illusion implies deception, and there is nothing deceitful about the way we feel time. It is not a lie, it is a gift. The universe may not move, but the mind teaches it to dance. Through perception, we turn the stillness of physics into the music of experience. And maybe that is why consciousness exists at all, to feel what the cosmos cannot. The block universe may be complete, every moment fixed and equal, but awareness gives it texture. It lets each instant shine differently, each emotion bloom uniquely, even if all are carved from the same eternal stone. Choice, then, becomes a way of seeing. When we decide, we are not altering destiny, but discovering it, opening the next page of a book that has always existed, yet feels alive because we are reading it for the first time. If we could know everything that was written, perhaps joy itself would vanish. The surprise of sunrise, the tremble of waiting, the soft ache of goodbye, all would flatten into certainty. It is our blindness to the script that gives meaning to the story. So we keep walking through time's illusion, loving its shimmer, its impermanence, its promise that something new is always arriving. The flow we feel is not false. It is the very pulse of being. To feel time is to feel alive inside the illusion. If everything has already been written, what remains for us to do? Perhaps the answer is not in rewriting the story, but in learning how to read it. Life may be a script, but it is one we live from the inside, each page revealed only as we turn it, each sentence carrying its own quiet surprise. The destination may be fixed, but the journey is full of texture, like a reader lingering over a favorite line. We can choose how deeply to feel each word, how gently to move through each moment. The end of the book is waiting, yes, but the beauty lies in the space between pages. In physics, time may be nothing more than a fixed dimension, a pattern already laid out, a lattice of events connected in a timeless whole. Yet within that stillness, psychology finds something profound. Peace does not come from control, but from surrender. To fight against the pattern is to exhaust ourselves. To accept it is to find harmony with it. The universe does not rush, and neither must we. Every second, every breath unfolds exactly as it should, with or without our intervention. Acceptance is not defeat, it is alignment, a gentle synchronization between the mind's rhythm and the universe's still pulse. There is quiet wisdom in realizing that not every question must be answered. The mind, restless by nature, seeks explanations for all things. Yet the deepest calm arises when that need softens. To sit within the mystery is to finally join the rhythm of space-time itself. Not pushing, not pulling, just existing. When we stop trying to make time obey us, we begin to feel what it means to belong to time. The structure we once feared becomes a home, and the inevitability of tomorrow becomes nothing more than the natural unfolding of now. In that surrender, life becomes gentler. The smallest details, the warmth of light, the hush between breaths, the echo of memory, begin to shine with a quiet dignity. We start to see the pattern not as a prison, but as a form of artistry, a perfect balance between order and uncertainty. To live fully, then, is not to fight the script, but to inhabit it with grace. to read slowly, to breathe between lines, to love the inevitability of each moment as if it were new. Perhaps peace has always been this simple, not understanding everything, but realizing that we do not have to. The cosmos keeps its shape whether or not we comprehend it, and we are free to rest inside that shape. To rest, finally, is not to give up. It is to agree with time. For a photon, time does not pass. From the instant it is born in the burning heart of a star to the moment it touches your eye. The journey across trillions of miles, through dust, void, and centuries happens all at once. To us, that light has traveled for millions of years. But to the photon, there has been no distance, no waiting, no sense of before or after. Its beginning and its arrival are the same event, stitched together in a single timeless act of existence. In the photon's own frame of reference, if such a frame could truly exist, time dilates into infinity. The ticking of clocks halts, and all motion collapses into pure being. It does not move through space-time. It is space-time, the quiet thread binding space and time together. Light, then, is not a traveler, but a bridge connecting two places, two moments. With perfect immediacy, every beam that grazes your face tonight is a memory from long ago that never aged, never changed, never forgot where it came from. Think of that. The light you see from the nearest star left before the first humans carved stories into stone. The glow of a distant galaxy began before the Earth was formed. Yet when that light reaches you, it is not ancient. It is immediate, young, new, as if creation itself had just happened again. In its presence, time folds in on itself. The photon that began its existence in a supernova's flare still remembers the first instant of its birth, because for it, that instant never ended. It has been waiting for nothing, and yet it has always been arriving. Perhaps that is why light feels so calm, so effortless. It carries no impatience, no sense of decay. It does not rush, because it never began. It does not tire, because it never endures. Every ray that falls upon your hand is a thread from eternity, stretched but unbroken, whispering that time is not as linear as we think. Light is both message and messenger, proof that the universe can communicate across ages without ever aging. And somewhere in that realization lies a kind of peace. To live, perhaps, is to be like light, to exist between beginnings, to bridge the gap between what was and what will be, without fear of how long the journey takes. We move through time, but light reminds us that existence itself may already be complete. It does not hurry, does not rest, it simply is. The photon does not travel, it exists between beginnings. The light you see tonight is not from now. Each shimmer scattered across the dark sky began its journey long before you existed, before your ancestors spoke their first words, before the earth took its current shape. Some of those stars are gone, their cores collapsed, their fire long extinguished, yet their light continues, still threading its way through space, still arriving. When you look upward, you are not witnessing the present. You are reading a history written in photons. A story so old it glows with patience. Astronomers say the farthest galaxies send us light that has traveled for billions of years. Every photon that reaches your eyes tonight has been crossing a changing universe, through clouds of gas, through cosmic dust, past the gravity of wandering planets. Along the way, space itself stretched, and time slowed the rhythm of its pulse. And yet, despite all that distance and distortion, the message survived. The universe does not hide its past. It only delivers it gently, one soft shimmer at a time. In this sense, the night sky is not a map of what is, but a gallery of what was. Each star is an echo preserved in light, a silent letter from the past still being read by the present. The constellations you trace are already ghosts, their true forms scattered or gone, but their memories remain intact, radiant, insistent. The cosmos keeps no secrets, only delays. It shows everything, only later. Perhaps that is why starlight feels so intimate. It reminds us that memory is not lost, it is simply in transit. Even the faintest glimmer carries the persistence of something that refused to fade. The light that leaves a dying star is an act of devotion. It travels endlessly, searching for a place to be seen, to be remembered. In that way, the sky above us is less a ceiling than a correspondence, messages from countless moments, all finding their way home. And if the universe works this way, perhaps the mind does too. Every dream forgotten, every face half remembered, might still be traveling through the quiet corridors of thought, taking its time to return. The past does not vanish. It slows. It drifts, patient and bright, waiting for the right night to rise again. So when you look up, you are surrounded by the persistence of light, by proof that nothing radiant truly ends. The stars are not just distant, they are faithful. They continue speaking, even after silence. And in their endless whisper, they remind you that every memory, every love, every dream you thought was gone is still out there, on its way back to you. Every star you see is a memory that refused to fade. Every atom in the human body was once part of a star, long before oceans breathed or mountains formed, before the earth was even dust. Stars lived and burned, vast, ancient furnaces weaving simple hydrogen into carbon, oxygen, iron. When those stars died, they did not vanish. They scattered. Their final act was creation, their collapse a gesture of generosity. The elements forged in their hearts were released into space, drifting through the dark until gravity gathered them again, into planets, into air, into the quiet miracle of living forms. The calcium in your bones, the oxygen in your lungs, the iron in your blood, all were made in stellar cores that died billions of years ago. Every breath you take carries the memory of a sun that once shone elsewhere. When you touch the earth, you touch the residue of exploded stars. When you look at the sky, you are seeing where you came from. The universe built you from its own remnants, and in doing so, found a way to know itself again. Astrophysicists call it nucleosynthesis, the process by which stars create heavier elements through fusion. But beyond the physics lies something deeply personal. The hydrogen that once burned in the first stars now flows through your bloodstream, carried by a heart that beats in rhythm with the cosmos. You are not simply made of stardust. You are stardust, briefly aware of its own existence. Life is not separate from the universe, but an echo of its memory, a momentary awakening within an endless dream. And so, when you look up at the night sky, you are not gazing outward, but inward, The constellations are not distant. They are reflections, shimmering across time to remind you that your origins were luminous. The stars above and the pulse beneath your skin are made of the same song, matter humming at different frequencies of being. Even in silence, the resonance continues, the universe breathing through you, remembering itself with every heartbeat. Perhaps that is the quiet secret of existence, that we are both the question and the answer, both the dust that drifts and the consciousness that watches it fall. We are not visitors in the cosmos. We are its continuation, its curiosity, its reflection. When the body returns to dust, the cycle simply begins again, particles scattering, waiting to be reborn as something else that remembers. The universe is vast, yet intimate. It does not forget what it has been. Every star that burns, every atom that moves, every thought that flickers in the dark is part of the same unbroken story. You are not apart from it. You are the pause it takes to admire itself. You are the universe, remembering itself. If everything were to stop, every vibration, every exchange of warmth, every flicker of movement, time itself would fall silent. In a universe without difference, without heat shifting from one place to another, there would be nothing left to mark the passing of moments. Time is not a substance that flows, it is the rhythm of change. And when that rhythm fades, time too goes still. What remains is not death, but the deep exhalation of existence, the quiet breath between creation and renewal. Physicists describe this stillness as thermal equilibrium, the point at which all energy is perfectly balanced, and no transfer or transformation remains. At that ultimate calm, the equations of motion cease to tell a story. Molecules no longer collide, light no longer disperses, and the ticking of atomic clocks loses its beat. In the smallest scale of matter, only a whisper persists, quantum vibrations, faint and restless, the final heartbeat of reality itself. Even at the coldest possible temperature, absolute zero, those minute tremors never vanish entirely. They are the sigh of the cosmos, too patient to stop, too ancient to rush. To imagine such a moment is to imagine a universe asleep. Galaxies dim, entropy reaches its quiet conclusion, and the dance of heat and gravity finds its perfect balance. There is no loss in this stillness, only rest. The cosmos has moved through eons of expansion, collision, and birth. Now it lies back, weightless, suspended in the calm it created. The silence would not be empty. It would be complete. Every wave would have met its shore. Every spark returned to the dark that bore it. In that stillness, there is no before or after. The concept of sequence dissolves, replaced by something softer. Presence without duration, time deprived of change, curls into itself and sleeps. The universe, once full of motion, becomes a single, endless inhale held in peace. And yet, even this rest is not an ending. In quantum tremors too faint to name, the possibility of new beginnings stirs. Stillness, after all, is only the pause that lets motion find its breath again. Perhaps what we call peace is the echo of that cosmic calm, the quiet recognition that movement and stillness are not opposites, but partners, trading places in an eternal rhythm. When we grow silent enough, we can almost feel it, the the slow pulse of the stars, the invisible hum that underlies everything. Stillness is not the absence of life, but the universe exhaling, a moment of perfect balance before the next inhale begins. Cosmologists believe that one day the universe will grow quiet, its stars will fade, their light exhausted, its galaxies will drift apart until even gravity forgets how to hold them together. Over uncountable ages, heat will spread evenly through every corner of existence. No more stars will be born, no more energy exchanged, only stillness. They call this moment the heat death of the universe. But the name is misleading. It is not death in any human sense. It is the end of effort, the sigh after an eternity of movement. Entropy, the measure of disorder, will have reached its peak. Every gradient of temperature, every source of potential, every imbalance that once allowed motion, sound, or life will flatten into calm. The cosmos, which once burned with the birth of stars and the spark of thought, will settle into an even, endless quiet. And yet, this does not feel like tragedy. The story of the universe has never been about permanence, but about rhythm, expansion and rest, creation and return. Even the brightest flame, when it finally goes out, does not vanish. It becomes part of the darkness that holds all light. If we see the cosmos not as a machine, but as a living rhythm, then the heat death is not its final failure, but its sleep. Every planet, every atom, every wisp of radiation will lie together beneath a single, perfect temperature, the blanket of absolute equilibrium. There will be no stars to mark the hours, no orbits to trace the passing of days. Yet, in that vast stillness, time will finally breathe out. Every vibration will have slowed to its last pulse. Every spark of warmth will have joined the universal hush. The universe will rest, not because it has ceased to exist, but because it has reached peace from a distance. Though there will be no distance left to measure, it might resemble serenity, a cosmic night where nothing stirs, but everything remains. The galaxies that once flared like living embers will have faded into gentle whispers of radiation. Even those whispers will stretch thinner, fainter, until silence completes its work. But that silence will not be empty. It will be full of memory, of completion, of the quiet satisfaction of something that has fulfilled its purpose. And perhaps that is all life has ever been, a temporary glow against the inevitable calm. To know that all will rest does not make the flame less beautiful. It makes it precious. The stars burn precisely because they cannot burn forever. Every moment of motion, every spark of heat is part of the same story that ends in peace. The universe's long rest is not the erasure of meaning, but the return to balance. After so much noise and light, it will at last remember how to be still. When everything rests, time finally breathes out. Even if time were to stop, energy would not vanish. It would only change its shape, folding back into potential, waiting quietly for the next beginning. Nothing in the universe is ever truly lost. It simply rearranges itself into new forms of silence. The heat of stars becomes the calm of empty space. Motion becomes stillness, and light returns to its invisible state, resting like a breath held between worlds. The end of all things, then, is not destruction, but pause, a stillness so complete that even decay has nothing left to do. The law of conservation of energy tells us this. Everything persists. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only transforms. In the deep future, when entropy reaches its perfect equilibrium and every flicker of heat has dispersed, the energy that once made galaxies spin will remain, hidden in faint radiation, stretched across a hushed horizon. It will not vanish. It will only wait. The universe will be reduced to potential, a seed buried in absolute calm, containing everything that once was and everything that could be. Perhaps this is the true rhythm of existence: expansion and rest, awakening and sleep. Just as the universe once began with a burst of light, it may one day begin again, not from chaos, but from serenity. The quiet between breaths is not absence but preparation. Even the deepest sleep is not the end of consciousness. It is a gathering of strength for the next dawn. And so, the universe rests, not as a fallen giant, but as a sleeper dreaming of its next creation. In this light, the final stillness feels less like farewell and more like return. Every cycle of existence, stars burning, worlds forming, life arising and fading, leads back to this gentle center, a moment of pause, infinite yet peaceful, where energy waits to become form again. The calm is total, but within it lies a subtle pulse, the readiness to begin. Like an inhale held before the first note of a song, the universe's silence is full of promise. And when the next dawn comes, whether tomorrow or 10 trillion years from now, it will not be new matter, but the same energy reshaped, the same story beginning again with different words. The cosmos will open its eyes once more, exhaling creation into being. The light will return, the stars will burn, and the rhythm will continue. Endless, patient, serene. Nothing ends. Everything rests. Maybe your thoughts are still wandering, and that's all right. The stars above you have been wandering too. Their light began its journey long before you were born, carrying memories older than Earth itself. Every glimmer in the night sky is a message from the past, arriving just now to meet your gaze. And within you, in every breath and every heartbeat, that same light is alive. The carbon, the oxygen, the iron once forged in the hearts of stars, now moving quietly through your veins. You are not apart from the cosmos. You are made of its memory. The universe is not something you look at. It is something you are. So as you drift into sleep, remember, you belong to everything that has ever shone. Let the light that made you rest for a while. And let your dreams wander home among the stars. You are part of the light.